We are in London tonight, where the leaders of the world's largest countries are gathering to address the worldwide recession. President Obama arrived this evening. He'll meet tomorrow and Thursday with this group known as the G20. The 20 nations represented here have 2/3 of the world's population, 85% of the world's wealth, and control 80% of world trade. The challenges they face are huge. New estimates out today show worldwide unemployment will rise by 25 million this year. And there are estimates the world's economy will shrink by over 4%, with little growth coming next year. The challenges are great, so are the risks. In 1933, leaders from around the globe also gathered in London to try and save the world from Great Depression. They did not. After weeks of squabbling and recriminations, their gathering ended and the Depression got worse. And already at this conference, there are signs of disagreement between the president and other leaders about how to resolve the current crisis. So we begin with White House correspondent Jake Tapper, who's here in London. Jake?
Good evening, Charlie. Well, you mentioned the Great Depression. President Obama's plane had not even touched down here in London when one of his aides was already invoking the Great Depression as an example of what can happen when the world's industrialized nations do not come to an agreement to combat an economic crisis. President Obama has two priorities for this conference. One is to come up with a system of international rules for financial institutions, and the other one is more stimulus.
President Obama touched down in London tonight, where a showdown awaits over his #1 priority for the summit, an increase in stimulus spending by the other industrialized countries, a push the president of the European Union has assailed. America is repeating the mistakes from the 30s, extensive stimuluses and calls for protectionism, he said. The worst about these steps is that they are intended to be permanent, which is a way to hell. Germany and other European countries are leading the pushback, having already passed stimulus packages. And with more extensive social spending programs, these countries do not want to take on even more debt.
It makes no sense to pump more and more money in our economy whenever we haven't restored the confidence on the financial markets.
Another major issue, more regulations for financial institutions to prevent future disasters. Speaking at St. Paul's Cathedral today, British Prime Minister Gordon Brown said bankers have ignored basic morals that parents teach children.
We don't reward them for taking irresponsible risks that would put them or others in danger. We don't encourage them to seek short-term gratification at the expense of long-term success.
But Mr. Brown and Mr. Obama's proposals for new regulations are seen as not strong enough. And France's President Nicolas Sarkozy is threatening to walk away from the conference if regulations don't go further.
President Sarkozy was very clear on that front. He said if the deliverables are not there, I won't sign the communique. Means walking away.
Mr. Obama comes to London with many countries blaming unscrupulous American capitalism for having sparked the recession. The leaders of Russia and China want a new international currency to replace the once almighty U.S. dollar as the world standard, which the White House knocked down again this afternoon.
President Obama tomorrow will meet with the British Prime Minister and the Queen of England, and then in meetings that will likely be less friendly with the leaders of China and Russia.